What's up YouTube, going back to the channel. So before we get into this Bravely Default 2 video, I would like to talk about the Nintendo Direct that kind of came out a couple days ago. And my thoughts and opinions, because everybody keeps asking me, like, my opinions really matter. You know, everybody got one. I mean, opinions are just like assholes, everybody got one. So how'd I feel about it? It's neutral, honestly. I really didn't care. Because one, I didn't get to watch live because I was asleep. And two, I mean, once I seen it was a partner showcase, which means that, like, I guess third parties is gonna be showing their games. That's when I knew. I was like, all right, I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna get a Metroid Prime video, Mario for damn sure we're not getting that because of the whole it's supposed to be 35 years of Mario, and that would have been a decent place to show all the games. But no, they didn't do that. You're probably saving it up for something different. But as from what I've been seeing, I highly doubt it. But people have been saying that we haven't got a legit Nintendo Direct in almost over a year. And I'm like, y'all don't want to count the minis? It was like, no, I'm not counting the minis because there's not an actual Direct, which is kind of funny to me. A whole bunch of people that don't work for Nintendo can sit there and tell me, like, no, that's not counted as a real Direct. I mean, who said it wasn't a real Direct? Oh, just because you say it's not a real Direct? Just because you feel some type of way about it? Yeah, nah. But honestly, I feel that they could at least showed us, some decent, like a little teaser, a little glimpse of something, you know what I'm saying? Like, we have not heard jack shit about Metroid Prime since it was announced that we was getting the fourth game. But at the end of that, I just don't really see what the big deal is and why people are mad, why people are bashing Shin Megami Tensei and giving it low scores on like all these gaming websites. Like, that's just petty as hell just because some people didn't get another Smash Bros character. Like, bro, we just got Min or Nin, whatever the hell her name is. But at the end of the day, we just got to understand that the times that we're living in, it's scary. Coronavirus has affected all this. So don't be upset that your game didn't get announced or didn't get shown. Be glad that it wasn't announced that it got canceled. That's the one thing y'all should fear. Because, I would love to see Metroid Prime 4 come out, Legend of Zelda come out. I don't play Bayonetta, but hey, everybody's been, craving that game for years now. So, I mean, give Nintendo their props. At least showed us something. But, them fanboys is gonna do whatever they can, to hurt the gaming developers who make these beautiful games. But the one thing I was upset about was the Bravely Default, which is what this video is all about. So let's go on and get into this whole what is Bravely Default 2, and I'm talking about the first game as well, and why I think it's gonna be a 50-50 game it's gonna be a 50-50 game in my book, and here's the reason why. So recently we got a Nintendo Direct, and I was disappointed because they did not show us Bravely Default 2. Now, if you go look up its wiki page, or you just go Google it like normal, it comes up Bravely Default 2, and it gives you the year 2020. It doesn't give you a legit month. It doesn't give you a legit date. Hell, it doesn't even give you a legit time, even though I don't think any games have a legit time when they come out. But I am highly upset with Nintendo because this is I guess this will be their last game that comes out in 2020, because I haven't heard nothing else that's supposed to be popping out for Nintendo besides Bravely Default. Now, I'm under the impression that it could be getting delayed. And as much as I don't want to hear that it's getting delayed, it's starting to look like it's getting delayed. Because in the last Direct, we didn't get no glimpse, no nothing, no nada, nothing about this game. And I am disappointed that they didn't show it. They could have showed us something. They could at least gave us a release date. Now, there's only one thing I can come up with, theory I can come up with on reason why they did not show it. Maybe they wanted to show it in another Direct or give it its own Direct. Maybe they wanted to, show more about the game than what was normally shown when it first got announced the first time. I think it got announced earlier this year. I don't know. Are they gonna pull, how they did with Mario the Origami King? Because they showed a trailer of the Origami King 3 or 4 weeks before the actual game got dropped. And I'm like, if they're gonna do that again, I hope they don't. But then again, we already knew about this game way before, they gave it a release date. And Origami King was something different. That was just like, hey, here's a Mario game. This will shut y'all up for the rest of the year, when it really didn't. I mean, I've seen people beat it in a week, but that shit's hard. But what I'm saying is this: if you don't know what Bravely Default is a JRPG, a Japanese RPG, and it's made by the same folks that brought us Final Fantasy, Square Enix. Now, once I tell y'all the plot of the story, y'all understand, like, yeah, this dude sound like a Final Fantasy game. So pretty much the story goes like this. All right, warriors of light, elemental crystals. That's pretty much all I can tell you. Because the fact of the matter is, Final Fantasy is known for that. Square Enix is known for that kind of stuff. The first 5 Final Fantasy games, storyline was pretty much like that. All right, warriors of light, elemental crystals. Hell, I think the 3rd Final Fantasy game with Onion Knight was pretty much, that was their just basics of the story. Like, we didn't really get to know who the fuck our main characters were. We just knew that warriors of light, elemental crystals. About it. Well, that's what they're doing with this game. Warriors of light, elemental crystals. I don't know how many times I gotta say that. And they also take some stuff from Final Fantasy, like y'all remember the job classes that people did. Like if you had a warrior, he could be a warrior dash ninja, warrior dash wizard, mage, blue mage, white mage, green mage, all those types of mages. You know, I think they said there's 27 job classes you could pick from. You know, I don't think they really do that in Final Fantasy anymore. I think the last time they did something like that was Final Fantasy 5, because 6, 7, and onwards, you really couldn't tell who was the warrior, who was the mage, who was this, who was that. But then again, you could also tell who was the warrior, who's the mage, and who's all that stuff. Because you could technically tell by how the person plays. Like, okay, if this was the old classic Final Fantasy, this person would be the mage. If this was classic Final Fantasy, this would be the warrior. You know what I'm saying? Now, I've been seeing people compare Bravely Default 2 to Octopath Traveler, because Octopath Traveler kinda is something like that. Because see, Octopath Traveler, they didn't do, you know, the elemental crystals. They did do, I wouldn't say warriors of light, but they called them the chosen ones, I believe. And they had a linear story they had to go through. I want to say linear story, but you know, they had the job classes, like you can be a thief and a dancer, or a thief and a warrior, that kind of thing. But the difference between this game and Octopath Traveler, you can start off with anybody at the beginning of the game. You don't have to just get a set person. In this game, you start off with Seth. He just washes up on shore, and already right off the rip, you already know, okay, he got something to do with these crystals, bro. I feel like he might be some dude from ancient times, and he's probably a descendant of a great warrior or something, and he got amnesia, and he knocked that, you know, get hit on the head and got some amnesia now. You know, this is how most animes and most games like that, you wash up somewhere, you don't know who the hell you are, but later on down the line, you figure out you're either, you know, some serial killer, or you're some badass warrior from a faraway land, like how Kratos was from God of War. But the difference between that and Octopath Traveler, because like people keep comparing it to Octopath Traveler, like I say, in Bravely Default, you start off with a character. Octopath Traveler, you get to pick out of the 8 characters who you start off with first. So your journey just depends on who you pick first, pretty much. And all their stories don't really intertwine. Octopath Traveler's stories, they intertwine. So pretty much they all come together at the ending, and they all have a common thing they fight up against. But see, it comes down to Bravely Default, you start off with a main character, and as you progress through the game, you start adding more people to your team, just like normal JRPGs do. Like, you know, like, let's go with Final Fantasy. You know, you got Squall, and as time goes on, you meet more and more people. And same thing with Final Fantasy 7. You go through time. I mean, you're going through the game. You get Tifa. You get, you know, Aerie. You get all these characters to join your team. So that's pretty much what Bravely Default 2 is going with. They're going with the old classic, you know, Final Fantasy story. Warriors of Light, elemental crystals. Same old. The formula never changes. Now, is it boring? Very boring. Because it's predictable at the same time, though. We all know the villains want the crystals. Every villain has a different motive when they get the hell of the crystals. One person wants to destroy the world with the crystals. One person wants to destroy the crystals so they can destroy everything. And some people just want to use the crystals just to enslave, human race. Now, one thing I can sit there and say that hopefully they do this. Hopefully when they do the elemental crystal thing, hopefully that, let's say, like, for instance, there's 5 crystals. All right, there's 5 party members. Each person gets a crystal, and that's going to be their, you know, of course you got to go through the story to figure out why the crystal works with them and doesn't work with nobody else. Because, you know, that's just how anime, JRPG, video games work. And, you know, they always have them long, drawn out stories. You know, you learn everybody's backstory. You get to learn why they the way they are, who they are, what they do with their lives, all that jazz. But the one thing I do want to say about this game that I am kind of looking forward to, I like its art style. Because it's like I'm playing Final Fantasy, I think it was Final Fantasy 4 on the 3DS, because they had that same art style, and it's for the Switch. So it's like, it's really it looks cartoony-ish, but it's not cartoony-ish, if it makes sense. They do have voiceovers, because when I played the demo, they have people talking. Now, cutscenes, people talk. When you talk to people like throughout the town and stuff, you gotta read it. So it's just like how Xenoblade is. You know, they have their cutscenes where people, you know, they interact and they talk and they have voiceovers. When you go through the actual game, that's when the voiceovers are not there, and you just gotta read the text. Which is, I understand. You know, some people are gonna complain like, how come they just couldn't voice everybody? I'm like, that take too long. That's time consuming. Like, sometimes it's just not worth having all those voices. It's just not worth the time. It's just time consuming. And they really want to put this game out, and they need to put this game out like now, because 2020 is almost over. Got 5 more months left, and I really would like to see how this game, like, I just want to know the story. I want to know what's the deal with Seth. Like I said, people keep comparing it to Octopath Traveler. I really don't see how I can compare the two besides the job classes and how the story goes. But Octopath Traveler didn't have crystals in it, but this game does. So if anything, compare it to like the first 5 titles of Final Fantasy. Just think of it like that. And if any of them, think of Final Fantasy 3 with the Onion Knight. That's about as close as you're gonna get, because that's what it's really looking like. It's like a copy and paste of Final Fantasy 3's remake on a DS, just with different characters. They just changed the characters' clothes, changed the scenery, and there you go. Still elements of crystals, still Warrior of Light. But hey guys, that's all I got for y'all, man. I really want this game to come out. Like, it just says 2020. And when I finally get a release date, I might make another video about it. But for right now, I'm just upset with Nintendo. They should have showed this at the Direct. This should have been one of the games they showed. I'm not sitting there saying that the games they showed at the recent Direct Mini wasn't bad. I mean, yeah, the WWE game they showed was trash, but the rest of it was fine. It was alright. But I'm just like, I really want to see this, because a lot of people are starting to complain. People are starting to get upset. They're like, hey, okay, what other games can we play? You know, this pandemic has got everybody chilling at the house. So, but guys, that's all I got for y'all. I hope y'all being safe. But other than that, peace. Quick update, guys. Even though this video has been all done, edited, and whatnot, a trailer for a Pikmin Definitive Edition just came out, and yeah, I'm pretty disappointed. And the reason why I'm disappointed is because, as this video is just related to Bravely Default 2, this game got a release date, but Bravely Default 2 didn't get a release date. I don't understand why it has not yet, but it's kind of getting old.